Hi there. Annie Jacobsen specialises in books about government and military and defence subjects. And the book that we're reviewing, Operation Paperclip, is one that's particularly interesting. She's written over a wide variety of subjects, and we will be reviewing a couple of her other books, but I thought I'd start with Operation Paperclip. During World War II and leading up to the war, the Germans were very, very advanced in scientific research and engineering, particularly in the field of weaponry. Their research on nuclear topics, on chemical and biological weapons, on gas turbine engines, on rockets, was all right up at the cutting edge. And during the war, obviously a lot of this stuff came to fruition, and they produced some wonderful weapons. Fortunately for us, Hitler dabbled and interfered a lot and made some of the projects veer off in directions that were untenable. But they still basically were very, very advanced. So as the Allies and the Soviets both advanced on Germany and then eventually occupied it, there was an obvious desire to acquire this material and this knowledge, and there were vast arsenals acquired in the process. The UK got several V2 rockets, for example, took them back to the UK, and all the Allies, the Americans, the British, the French, and on the other side, the Soviets. And as we started realizing that they were going to be the next bad guys, the race was even more intense to secure this material. Also the documentation, the research documents, which could be found in very, very many places, and the scientists were particularly prized. And the book goes into it. It's almost a detective story, hunting down these caches of documentation. You know, in war-torn Germany, it wasn't an easy task, and a lot of the scientists had gone to ground and they had to be on there. Some of them had offered themselves up straight away, mainly to get away from the Soviets, but a lot were captured by the Soviets. So the problem was, when they took these scientists back to the United States or to the UK, and the American operation was called Operation Paperclip, that a lot of them had been engaged in war crimes. Now, a lot of the research and the reason that the Germans had become so advanced was they were able to test using protocols that you normally wouldn't be allowed to do. Testing on live subjects, using slave labor to work on the projects. For example, the V2 was moved from Peenemünde, because Peenemünde got bombed by the RAF, to an underground facility, 2 massive tunnels with interconnecting tunnels at Nordhausen, which had an adjacent concentration camp, Dora, which provided them with the workers. And these tunnels are still in existence, and they've become a memorial. And also there was experiments on people with nerve gas and chemicals and surgery and all sorts of horrible things. Now, these war crimes were committed not because they were Nazis, but because they were scientists. It's in the nature of scientists to do this. It's just the fact that opportunity reinforces aberration, and the Third Reich was a terrific opportunity for sadism. We can note that after the war, scientists in both the United States and the UK introduced radioactive isotopes into children's milk to see what would happen. This is the kind of mentality of scientists, and you know, it's in a large degree it's inhuman, and it's not something to be admired. Anyway, so we had these scientists who, many of them were war criminals, and in America, one branch in the American government was looking for them, and the Pentagon was hiding them and shielding them and giving them false identities and looking after them. And particularly immediately post-war, it was you know, a really great opportunity to get out of Germany and into a new life in the United States, and a lot of them thrived, notably Werner von Braun, who headed up the rocket program, which eventually put the man on the moon. There's an amusing joke. He wrote his autobiography, I Aim for the Stars, and a comedian once said, "Yep, I aim for the stars, but sometimes I miss and hit London." Because of the V2 origins of the program. Anyway, the book details all this, and just to illustrate some of the things, some of the German industry was you know, exposed as being one of the big chemical companies. There was a document they sent to a letter they sent to the SS asking for more prisoners because the last lot had died through experiments. And one noted terrible case was a company called, after the war, Grunenthal, pharmaceutical company, released a morning sickness pill, and they were able to get it approved because they certified that it had already been tested very, very thoroughly previously. And this drug was thalidomide, and it was one of the biggest pharmaceutical disasters in history. The testing that they referred to had been done by E.G. Farben, developing nerve gas at Auschwitz-Morowitz plant during the war. And they tested this on prisoners, and the result was the thalidomide. A guy called Otto Ambros, who had been imprisoned as a war criminal, was involved in it. So some terrible episodes of history. And Annie Jacobsen, her research is amazing. I mentioned the book, the search for the scientist was like a detective story. Well, her book has required her to be something of a detective and unearth all this from various archives. It's very detailed. You do have to refer to kind of the appendix of names and so on to keep current. But I found it an easy and an absorbing, fascinating read. And as I will be reviewing a couple of her other books, which are equally well researched. But I do really, anybody interested in the history of World War II and also the history of the space race will find this interesting.